Big Bad Wolf: The Wolf's Revenge is the new for 2025 roller coaster at Busch Gardens Williamsburg. This is a Bolliger Mabillard family inverted coaster that pays homage to the beloved former coaster of the same name. Is this better than the old Big Bad Wolf? Find out in this review. In 1984, Busch Gardens Williamsburg opened Big Bad Wolf. This was an aero-suspended coaster. This was loved by park goers for its wooded setting, turns through a German village, and signature plunge over the Rhine River, but the swinging trains caused a lot of stress, and the ride reached the end of its service life in 2009, necessitating its removal. In 2012, the park opened a replacement in Verbolten. This coaster used the same station area. The indoor section included a brief show scene with wolves alluding to the past attraction, and the second half followed the exact same course as the Big Bad Wolf, using the same footers even. This included a steep plunge down to the Rhine River. But this coaster was otherwise quite different. Rather than placing riders below the track, this was a sit-down multi-launch coaster from Zaire. I personally found it to be a notable upgrade over Big Bad Wolf, but there was one flaw: the height requirement. Big Bad Wolf was the park's true family coaster. Riders had to be just 42 inches tall to ride. To ride Verbolten, guests must be at least 48 inches tall. For young kids, it can take an extra 2 or 3 years to cover that 6-inch difference. This would not be an issue if the park had another family coaster with a low height requirement, but they did not for nearly 1.5 decades. Dar Coaster, a small indoor straddle coaster, requires riders to be 48 inches tall as well. Invader, a modest-sized GCI wood coaster, requires riders to be at least 46 inches tall. Outside of that, there is Grover's Alpine Express, which is a junior coaster meant for kids, and a series of high thrill coasters with 48 to 54 inch height requirements. Flash forward to 2023. Site plans were leaked for a new coaster in the back of Oktoberfest. This was deduced to be a Bolliger Mabillard family coaster. This later was announced to be Big Bad Wolf: The Wolf's Revenge. I thought this name was a bit awkward between its length and double use of the word wolf. I personally was hoping it would be called Bigger Badder Wolf, but the reality is that most guests are just going to call it Big Bad Wolf or the new Big Bad Wolf. And it would open in 2025 for the park's 50th anniversary. Verbolten did an admirable job honoring the former, but this would be a more faithful successor to the old Big Bad Wolf. Along with sharing a similar name and logo, the new coaster would also hang below the track. It would also feature 2 lift hills and some close calls through a German village, and it would be that much needed accessible family coaster with a 42-inch minimum height requirement. While the old Big Bad Wolf was a suspended coaster with trains that could sway side to side, the new Big Bad Wolf is a pure invert. The train is fixed to the track. The United Parks SeaWorld chain has always loved working with Bolliger Mabillard, or B&M. They added some of the company's first coasters. They've also added some prototypes, and they have continued to purchase their coasters in recent years. This has included a series of family coasters. They have purchased all 3 of B&M's family inverts in the United States. The first is Phoenix Rising at Busch Gardens, Tampa. This opened in 2024. The second is the subject of this video in Big Bad Wolf. The third is Barracuda Strike, which will open at SeaWorld San Antonio later this year. The other 5 B&M family inverts are all located over in China. One of the biggest cons of Big Bad Wolf is its location. It is in a very awkward spot. It is located off on its own, way behind the Fest House. This is only accessible via a long, single, narrow, dead-end pathway. If you know where this is, it's annoying. It's roughly a 4 to 5 minute walk from any other attraction. If you don't know where this coaster is, or know of its existence, it is possible to miss this ride entirely. From the main midways, it is invisible. It is too short to rise above the tree line. Unless you walk over to the ride, it is only visible briefly from Verbolten at the start and during one leg of the train. It specifically is visible going between Festa Italia and New France, but if you take that leg, You get some stunning views of Big Bad Wolf cycling. It is the only way to see the back end of the attraction, but not everyone is going to take the train. That is why many hoped the attraction back there would have been taller and more easily seen, and that almost happened. Before the new Big Bad Wolf came to be, this plot was considered for several other attractions. From 1992 to 1998, this plot was home to Dragonfire. This was an Arrow sit-down looping coaster, but it was lambasted for its rough ride. After its demolition, the site sat idle for over 2 decades, fully in view of guests riding the train. In the late 2010s, the site was considered for a massive launched gigacoaster from Intamin that would have crossed the Rhine River. But due to construction complications, this was instead spun off into 2 separate coasters. The first was Pantheon, an Intamin multi-launch coaster. This would top out at 18 stories, featuring 2 inversions and some wacky airtime hills. This was slated to open in 2020. The second coaster, also from Intamin, would have opened shortly thereafter. It would have been a colossal shuttle coaster affectionately nicknamed Dragonspire. It would have started off in Dragonfire's old plot. It then would have launched towards the Rhine River and traversed a roughly 355-foot or 108 meter tall twisted spike. However, in spring 2020, the COVID-19 pandemic happened, rocking the entire world and the amusement industry. This caused Pantheon to be delayed until 2022, and Dragonspire was cancelled outright. Intamin was instead contracted to build Dark Coaster in 2023. This was a much smaller straddle coaster placed in the former Dark Castle show building. So Busch Gardens thought of other plans for Dragonfire's old site. Due to the overwhelming success of Iron Gwazi at Busch Gardens Tampa, it was rumored that Busch Gardens Williamsburg could add a similar RMC Hyper Hybrid. This was supported by a 220-foot height waiver. This ride would have been easily spotted from the main midway, and it would have been incredible for coaster enthusiasts. But the park instead pivoted once again towards the new Big Bad Wolf. I think this ride type, an accessible family coaster, was a bigger need for Busch Gardens than another mega thrill coaster, but I wish it had been placed elsewhere where it would have been easier to spot, and the Dragonfire plot was saved for a taller ride. Now they could fix this in the future by adding something else tall over there, even if it's just a tall flat ride. When you can finally see Big Bad Wolf, it actually looks quite good. Again, much of the ride is secluded. From the plaza, you can only see the start and finale. The maroon track works, and it's not too far off from the red of its predecessor. And I love the trains. The Zero car in particular looks amazing, as it features a menacing wolf with glowing red eyes. After Pantheon and its extreme lack of theming, I was worried that Big Bad Wolf could receive similar treatment. Fortunately, this coaster was dressed up quite nicely. The station captures the vibe of Oktoberfest, featuring what I believe are beer kegs along the ceiling. And there are several things to see along the course. This includes the German houses on the far turnaround and a series of traps in the second half. Whereas the other B&M family inverts have operated just one train, Big Bad Wolf was designed for multi-train operations. This is much appreciated given its 2 lift hills and longer duration. I believe they have 2 trains, and they typically run both simultaneously. Each train sees a max of 20 riders, as they are comprised of 10 rows of 2, and the crew is dispatching them at a steady rate. Still, this ride can generate a sizable wait, especially if the park is slammed. I have only visited this park twice since it opened, but I had great luck hitting it during the first and last hour. During these times, the coaster was just a station wait. In the past, Busch Gardens has used staggered openings for Oktoberfest, but I believe they have been opening this section of the park in 2025. If this continues going forwards, I recommend going to Dark Coaster first because of its embarrassingly low capacity, then head back to Big Bad Wolf for a few laps. Then if you save this for the evening, the experience is even cooler. This park has a lot of great night rides. Big Bad Wolf is one of them. The isolated setting makes your surroundings dark, but you have some light coming from the train itself. It looks sweet up front. If you visit on a particularly busy day, this ride is offering the park's paid quick queue skip the line pass, where it currently is a pricey one-time upcharge. This is what the United Parks typically do with their newest rides. I imagine I'll switch over to Unlimited in the next year or two. If you have quick queue, you merge directly into the station. Once at the station, you can choose to wait for any row. I thought the forces were pretty similar across the train, but I preferred the front for the visuals. You have the unobstructed view that is awesome anyway on an invert, plus those theming elements. Riders are secured by overhead lap bars. These are comfortable and are similar to what can be found in the other B&M family coasters in the USA. They offer so much freedom. I love it. The seats feel a tad narrow relative to B&M's other coasters, but that's not too big of an issue for me. I think this was done to make the ride more accessible. The first two B&M family inverts at Happy Valley in China featured different restraints. Those rides featured the B&M vest restraint, just without the vest component, so you had a much thicker bar over your pelvis. While these had a bit less freedom, I thought the wider seats made them more comfortable for adults. However, they came with a higher minimum height requirement. Guests have to be at least 45 inches tall to ride these coasters, so I get why B&M redesigned their trains to be more accommodating for kids. Once dispatched, a bell chimes. This is not the last audio either, as the trains have onboard speakers much like Phoenix Rising. This adds some music, wolf howls, and atmospheric sounds as you move through the layout. This works perfectly with the sights. After the station, you turn right and ascend the first of two lift hills. I believe this is the taller of the two, reaching a max height of roughly 67 feet, or 20 meters. The first drop is a swooping drop to the right. It doesn't have much pull, but the valley is compact and offers some light positive Gs. Then you have a large S-hill over the maintenance shed. This too is tame up front. But the descent is interesting. It is a windy double down. I like the repeated directional changes, and you get a little whip in the rear rows. Next is a banked camelback. It offers some weightlessness across the train, but it more notably offers some lateral hang time when the train loses its speed over the apex. The train then enters the Bavarian village, charging through a gate. This is where the visuals really start to shine. You twist over a shed honoring Dragonfire. This has some light Gs. Then, there's a 270-degree downward spiral against some homes. These capture the look and feel of a Bavarian town, and I love the visuals as your feet narrowly avoid these. The turn also offers okay positive Gs, the best forces on the ride. It is worth noting this sequence has some audible rattling, but I didn't feel anything. More on the smoothness later though. The train then gently turns right, ending the first half. The first half feels similar to the original Big Bad Wolf in terms of visuals, elements, and forces, just subtract the swinging. The second half feels quite a bit different though. The old version had a near full stop before the second lift. You then had a slow climb up the larger of the two lift hills. Then you faced the ride's most daring elements, including that Rhine River plunge. On the new version, the second half does not ramp up the thrills any further. The second lift is smaller and more about making sure you have enough momentum to make it back to the station. The train does not slow down the brakes and flies up half the lift. You then continue the chain lift and proceed through the second half. It starts with a straight drop. This offers some pull in the back, and like the first drop, the pullout is tight and offers a light burst of positive Gs. There also is a wolf trap here, which is a fun visual. The train has a leftward banked bunny hill over an access road. This offers a little weightlessness in the front. The train then gently turns right before navigating a banked left turn. This offers weak positive Gs, and it is fun visually as you're passing remnants from an Oktoberfest celebration. You then have a mild rightward turn into the brakes. The train then decelerates and parks in the station, ending the 2,583 foot or 787 meter long experience. This is a nice length for a family coaster, and it is considerably longer than the other B&M family inverts. This one has the big advantage of the second lift hill, which the others do not have. As for the intensity, this is definitely the mildest of the 3 B&M family inverts that I have done. It does not have the positive G's of Phoenix Rising or Happy Valley's installation. But this one has the best visuals. If you place a large emphasis on theming and sights like I do, this likely will be your favorite of the B&M family inverts. How much emphasis you place in visuals also will tie into the pacing. If you are purely after forces, this ride has some lulls, but the ride is mostly engaging start to finish if you factor in the sightlines. The only spot that is a minor dead spot for me is the brief brake run and the second lift hill midway through the ride. What about the smoothness? Phoenix Rising has been criticized by some as having a bad rattle. I recently rode that coaster, and it definitely shook in the spots with high positive G's, but I found it tolerable and smooth enough. I am pleased to say that Big Bad Wolf is very smooth. The far turn has an audible rattle that I noted, but no matter where you sit in this coaster, the whole ride actually feels smooth. I'm not sure if B&M improved something with the model, or if the lessened forces are the reason, but whatever it is, this ride is comfortable. What would I rate the new Big Bad Wolf? I would give this coaster a 7.5 out of 10. This is a very good family coaster. It is a visually fun experience cruising through the woods and through some Bavarian scenes. Then the ride is flowy, with some spots of weightlessness and positive G's. I do wish it had a bit more power like the other B&M family inverts, but this is a nice overall package. This has been a major hit with families and nostalgic parkgoers, which is exactly what the park was going for. But is it better than the old Big Bad Wolf? In some ways, yes. I think the new one tells a better story, the visuals are more plentiful and better looking, and you have the onboard audio as well. The older one was definitely the wilder ride though, as that second half was downright thrilling. I personally preferred the old version for that reason, but I think the new Big Bad Wolf overall is close in quality and a worthy successor. Those are my thoughts on Big Bad Wolf, The Wolf's Revenge at Busch Gardens Williamsburg. What are your thoughts on this coaster? Do you prefer this or the original Big Bad Wolf? Let me know down in the comments. If you enjoyed this review, I would appreciate it if you gave this video a like, and you consider subscribing, since there will be a lot more roller coaster and amusement park videos here at Canopy Coaster. Thanks for watching.